Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks of Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in our community. We are so honored to have in the studio with us David King. He's the executive director of the San Diego Imperial Valley high-intensity drug trafficking area, better known as am I pronouncing it right? HAIDTA or just HIDTA is better?
We affectionately call it HAIDTA.
HAIDTA, very good. Thank you for correcting me on that. David, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Honored to have you on, joined by my co-host. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., Kristen Fogel. And you've got a question for David right out of the gate.
I do. Let's just tackle that acronym, shall we? And tell us a little bit about the organization and how long you've been with the organization.
Well, it's my pleasure. HAIDTA, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, is a federal grant program administered by the Office of National Drug Control Policy, which is out of the White House and currently funded at $298 million. Wow. All 50 states have designated counties in HAIDTA regions where they support federal, state, and local law enforcement in narcotic investigations, primarily. 95% of our funds go toward narcotic investigations, 5 go toward prevention, drug demand reduction, and in some HAIDTA regions, treatment.
So you've been in the world of law enforcement for your entire life, or no, you were a professional baseball player, you were pitching for the Padres? That's a different king. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, anytime you can turn it back to sports, Drew, I swear.
Former sports writer, you kidding me on that? How long have you been in law enforcement?
35 years.
Wow.
Thank you for your service. Where'd you start out?
I started out, graduated from the University of San Diego, was going to go in the military, fly helicopters. 1989, they said, hey, it's going to be about a 2-year wait. I applied for the police department. San Diego Harbor PD, got hired, and started realizing that most of the problems on my beat were people who were high on drugs or alcohol. And so from that point, took a course at the California Narcotics Officers Association. And we have a law in California for being under the influence of a controlled substance, 11550. And I realized that really quickly, if you can get those people off the streets into treatment, sometimes incarceration, you'll have less crime, less robberies, less violent crime, less assaults. And from that, decided that I wanted to have a career in narcotic law enforcement. And I was the first detective assigned to NTF from Harbor PD in 1992.
Oh, my goodness. So you've seen certainly every single type of narcotic ups and downs and in and outs and all that business. And unless you live on the space station Mir, fentanyl has been certainly at the top of the game on this. And we'll talk about other aspects also, but compare fentanyl to what you've seen in the past. I mean, none of it is good, correct?
Well, for many decades, San Diego County was the methamphetamine manufacturing capital of the world, right? So I came into in the early 90s, and we had hundreds of labs in San Diego County where people were making their own methamphetamine. Once we started controlling the precursor chemicals, those labs evaporated in San Diego, in the state of California, and production moved down to Mexico, where we have super labs. We have always struggled with weed and speed here in San Diego County. But starting in about 2015, we started noticing our overdose deaths skyrocketing to what is a high in 2022 and 2023 of about 1,200 overdose deaths in the county.
Wow. And what were you attributing that to?
63% of those deaths are attributed to fentanyl. So it's a game changer. It's a synthetic opioid. Yeah. And all across the country, I mean, we're talking about a problem where a couple years ago, you're talking 107,000 people died of overdose deaths. So that is equivalent to about a 737 crashing every day in the United States, killing all people on board. And what's even more sobering, 95% of the people in this country that overdose don't die. So that tells you how many folks are addicted to synthetic opioids, methamphetamine. And as we tell everybody, the drug supply, about 50% of the drug supply is adulterated with fentanyl.
Yeah, there's been a lot about that written. Folks are going down south of the border to get certain, medications and all that, and then to wind up, wait a second, there's fentanyl in here. That is not a good thing. You've been doing this now, David, for 32 years, 33 years, as you said, in this area. And listen, this is what you do 24/7, 365, and 366 when there's a leap year, I imagine. Are we getting any better at this? What can we do? What can the citizenry do to support the efforts of what you folks do and everybody else that's in your world?
Well, that's a great question. And so we tell everybody, we educate people on the truth. We talk to kids in school, our drug demand reduction program. We work with the National Guard. We work with the Substance Use Overdose Prevention Task Force, which is a local county-led task force by the county. We bring in public health, public safety, prevention experts, and work together in a collaborative effort. So all hands on deck. Law enforcement's doing their job in supply reduction, right? We're going after transnational criminal organizations who are trafficking drug, targeting the Sinaloa, CJ&G cartel. We call them TCOs, transnational criminal organizations. So law enforcement's doing their part. The teachers, and I notice you have high school students in the audience. It's imperative that we train all the teachers to see the symptomology of students that are under the influence of drugs. Marijuana. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about how marijuana has had a huge role in this overdose epidemic across the country. So educate parents, educate teachers, educate business leaders on the dangers of it. DEA has a very effective campaign called One Pill Can Kill. And so the Office of National Drug Control Policy, and the best part about this program is they're taking this $298 million and they're moving it into 33 different regions controlled locally. The best part of this program is it comes from the White House, but we dictate, your local leaders, police chief, sheriff, district attorney, United States attorney, California Highway Patrol, Attorney General Bonnet, determine how best in our region to spend the $12 million that comes into San Diego and Imperial County to combat these problems.
We're chatting with David King. He's the executive director of the San Diego Imperial Valley High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, better known as HAIDTA. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for us, whether it's food insecurity, focus on Alzheimer's or the homeless and all that, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego, Writers Inc. So one of the things that I'm taking away from this, which is a good thing, they're letting the experts, the David Kings, the sheriff, the police, Bonta up in at the state, everybody else that's involved in these things, make those decisions because no one knows our area better than you folks, correct?
Correct. It's a unique geographic region and pretty sobering statistics. Just last week, I had a briefing from Customs and Border Protection. They're the folks that wear the blue uniforms at the ports of entry, Border Patrol, or in between the ports of entry. And the latest data is 43% of the cocaine seized on the southwest border. So we're talking about California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. That's your southwest border with Mexico. 43% of the cocaine, 64% of the methamphetamine, 73% of the fentanyl, and over 80% of the heroin comes from our California ports of entry. So the 150 miles of border, roughly, that we have with Mexico and the 5 California ports of entry are the number one drug transshipment point in the United States of America.
So how do we combat that? Is it possible to combat it? Obviously, resources are critical. They're probably thin. What do we do?
That's where we come in. So what you do, there's nobody that has expertise like the locals.
Right.
So a detective from the San Diego Police Department, San Diego County Sheriff's Department, La Mesa, Escondido. We bring in those resources. We can pay for salaries. We can pay for overtime. We send them to specialized training. We purchase specialized equipment. We pay for leases. And support personnel at our intelligence support centers. So the San Diego Law Enforcement Coordination Center, the Imperial Valley, bringing your intelligence and resources together to work with the federal agencies. So instead of it being DEA or HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Marshals by themselves, we bring in the local expertise to task force officers, and we pay for that.
How much support do we get from our friends across south of the border?
We are getting support from them. We do have a good dialogue with them. Our federal agencies are responsible for interacting with them. They have DEA attaché offices. Homeland Security has attaché offices in Mexico. And what I've been seeing is that we're experiencing a period where there is phenomenal cooperation.
No, I think that's great. Talk about this map, which we're going to put up once the podcast is over. And for our listeners, once we get the link out of here, talk about this map.
Well, when you talk about the HAIDTA program, it seems really large, right? It comes out of Washington, D.C., and it's all this money. And how does it go and how does it impact you locally? Mm-hmm. When you see the 33 regions that encompass about almost 75% of our nation's population resides within a county that's designated as a high-intensity drug trafficking area. And over the years, it's grown. 4 years ago was our last state that we added, and it's Alaska, which, is a huge, in and of itself, It encompasses like several states, geographic region.
Right.
But Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands are also high-intensity drug trafficking areas. And what's great about that, I only have 2 counties. There are 4 HAIDTA regions in California. I only have 2 counties. My counterpart in LA has 4 counties. 36 of our 58 counties in California are designated as HAIDTA and eligible for that federal funding to come in. But if you look at my counterpart at the Midwest HAIDTA, he actually has 7 states. Oh. So if he goes to a meeting with some of his law enforcement counterparts, he's having to board a flight. I'm lucky. I just go back and forth between San Diego and Imperial County.
So David, when you a very impressive map on this, when you look at the different areas, is the type of drug, okay, as you mentioned, you're right, San Diego County was the methamphetamine capital of the world, of this universe in that aspect, but are certain types of drugs more prominent in certain parts of the country or not really?
You asked $1 million question. It's a great question, Drew, because...
I'll give you a change back too.
Okay, exactly. There's the plug. No, and that's a great question because the overdose of the opioid epidemic really started in the Northeast in what we call the Appalachians, right? Where everybody was getting addicted to OxyContin. And that epidemic, that wave swept across the country from east to west. The methamphetamine, cocaine usage goes from west to east. So as we've always been very on the southwest border, western states, meth-centric, meth swept across to the East Coast, and the opioids went from east to west.
All right. We come back from break, David. I want to talk more about what you brought up. I think it's so critical, especially with our Cristo Rey San Diego High School students here, working with the schools. And I think you might have heard earlier, we work pretty much with all 43 school districts in San Diego County. And we always save time. I know Kristen has some more questions for you as well. She's got, how old is your son now? 6? How old?
7.
7. Obviously very concerned about this aspect with her kid who's in grade school. But what can we do to support your efforts, and the people that you work with, whether it's advocacy or whatever the case may be, when we come back with David King, Executive Director of the San Diego Imperial Valley High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, better known as HAIDTA. I learned something today, which is a stunner for me. I'm joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and we'll be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. How are you doing there, Kristen? Okay.
I'm good.
All right, good. Drew Schlosberg. Back with David King. He is the executive director of San Diego Imperial Valley high-intensity drug trafficking area, better known as HAIDTA, talking about this very, very critical area and this cause in our area region. Talk about the schools. You mentioned that earlier. It is incumbent upon every single one of the schools in our region, private, public, and not just the grade schools, community colleges, and the four-year schools as well, to really be able to identify if there's some issues on their campus. True?
The Washington-Baltimore HAIDTA developed a program called ADAPT, a Division for the Advancement for Prevention and Training. And ADAPT allows these geographic regions to work with HAIDTA. So we have a drug demand reduction program. Amy Hundle is our longtime drug demand reduction coordinator. We work with the San Diego County Office of Education, San Diego County Unified School District. We get into all the schools so that the schools can adapt their own curriculum. Because like with drug threats, not all regions are the same. And so we have found that by going in and providing the resources and a baseline for curriculum, that this is something that's not just taught during Red Ribbon Week, because a lot of folks don't realize that Enrique Camarena, who was from our geographic region, Imperial County, was murdered in 1985, and that's Red Ribbon Week. That's phenomenal that we have those activities around that. But we really want drug prevention, which is the future, right? Because if you don't have a demand, you won't have a supply. And we've long realized that in law enforcement. So we pay particular attention. We're one of 17 HAIDTAs that have not only a full-time drug demand reduction coordinator in San Diego, but one in Imperial County as well, to reach the Spanish-speaking population and those people out there. But that is the future that we're looking at. And we always tell everybody this: it's never too early to start talking about drugs. And one of the biggest things that we have in the last decade or so, the normalization of drug usage, where parents just say, well, it's okay, they're just smoking marijuana, that stuff. Marijuana is a very harmful drug. It's 20 to 30% off the vine. It can be in the 90% purities when you go to dispensaries. And we're seeing a lot of problems pertaining to marijuana. But, it leads to other drugs as well. So getting into the schools is something near and dear. And prior to coming on with the HAIDTA program, the California Department of Justice, every special agent would go to schools, and we were tasked with going to events and teaching the kids about the real facts associated with, not scare tactics, but science-based facts.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm sure you're real proud of is that the overdose deaths of juveniles under 18 has diminished quite substantially. Congratulations to you. And when you think about that, Kristen, how devastation is that for anyone who dies, not just under 18, but that one person dying, the impact that person has on the family, the friends, and that. So kudos to you on that.
Well, it's kudos to everybody in the community, federal, state, and local law enforcement, drug demand reduction partners, our National Guard coordinators. It's really the community that has brought this down. And in San Diego County, we started to notice that there's no socioeconomic background that's more impacted than others. Our homeless population is about 30% of the overdose deaths in the county. So as far as being homeless is concerned, but it affects everybody. It doesn't make any difference where you live, how much money you make. Addiction touches everybody. And so what we are most proud of and just really blessed with is the fact that nobody under 18 has overdosed and died in the last 2 years.
And it's just absolutely huge, and should be shouted out everywhere. And that, again, it is a team effort. There's no question about it. You're all about team, obviously, and the career you've had in this. And we do have to be rowing in the same direction, for God's sake. What a shock on that. Challenges, is funding a challenge? Is cooperation from the public a challenge? Talk about that.
Probably the biggest challenge that we have right now is the fact that a lot of police departments are understaffed, right? And their priority is to answer 911 radio calls.
Sure.
And we understand that. Getting a detective, getting an officer, sergeant into a specialized unit can sometimes be a challenge for our local leaders. And we try to help with that, right? So if we say, well, we're going to give X amount of dollars for a sergeant, a detective to come into a task force, that means it's not a hit to the department's budget. And so the city councils and the county board of supervisors, they have been good about working with the local agencies because they realize, hey, if we can just supply a detective from La Mesa PD or Escondido PD, one, that individual is a force multiplier in a task force with maybe 10 others, and they're going to be able to interdict the supply of drugs that someday will make its way into Escondido or those communities. We have a program called ODMAP, Overdose Detecting Mapping Application Program. It's nationwide. So San Diego County, Imperial County utilize that. When police and fire respond to an overdose, on their computer automated dispatch, they log the date and the time and whether it's a fatal, non-fatal, and naloxone distribution. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our overdose response strategy team.
Yeah.
We have a specialized team of a public health analyst and a drug intelligence officer that work together in the HAIDTA program, both retired. One's a retired prosecutor and one's retired law enforcement. So they go in the community and they proliferate ODMAP. ODMAP is a indicator of where you're going to have overdoses. So if you have a drug supply that's tainted, and it comes into San Ysidro or Chula Vista, we know with certainty it's going to work its way up AI-5 into National City, into San Diego, Carlsbad up north or out east into the county. So we're able to nationwide see overdose trends. So the overdose strategy, overdose response strategy, and ODMAP is really important in this. It's a great tool.
So our friends at Cristo Rey were talking about artificial intelligence a little bit earlier. So we tend to ask this question of all of our guests. Hey, how is AI playing a supportive role of you, or is it no role at all, or it's, I don't want to even talk about AI.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to be really careful with AI. We want to be fact-driven. Sometimes AI can go, it has a mind of its own.
It does.
We notice that obviously we have budgets, and it can help go through budgets and auditing and those kind of things, but we always check our numbers. AI in a legal perspective, if you see some of these lawyers that utilize AI and then some of their briefings,
They don't exist. Yeah.
they don't exist, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to take that. I guess we're old school, perhaps, in the sense that we want to, trust but verify. So we are the last I, not AI.
They're very good. Kristen, any other questions for David?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, HAIDTA sounds so large and so important. Are there any other initiatives or programs or even just messaging that you'd like to get across to our listeners?
Yeah, like I said, we are a federal grant program, but we're all about local. That's Substance Use Overdose Prevention Task Force in the county, led by our local leaders. The diversity of what we do as far as our enforcement programs, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we were the first in the nation to sponsor HAIDTA, a human trafficking task force. And you just saw a couple weeks ago, the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, was here, Operation Stand on Demand. So the local leaders 10 years ago realized that human trafficking was a problem in our geographic region. They addressed it. We also were the first in the nation to have a homicide overdose response team led by DEA. So when somebody overdoses, It used to be that, oh, that's unfortunate. They overdose, close it, and there was no investigation. Now we pursue the individuals that hand over the pill or sell it, knowing full well that what they're selling could contain a lethal dose of fentanyl. So all of those cases are investigated. We're one of the first to have a ghost gun apprehension team. San Diego PD realized the proliferation of privately manufactured firearms with no serial numbers. So we fund the ghost gun apprehension team. And we also are one of the only ones on the southwest border that have a tunnel team, a maritime task force. Because if you look at our geographic region, the cartels are hitting us everywhere. The majority of drugs comes through private passenger vehicles or commercial vehicles at the ports of entry, but they're also bringing it through tunnels. So we have a specifically tunnel task force. That's all they do is investigate that. A maritime team working with the Coast Guard, working with Customs and Border Protection, Air Marine Office. So it's really diverse in our HAIDTA, and a lot of HAIDTA regions come from across the United States, including all of our drug czars. Sarah Carter is our latest confirmed drug czar, and she's already made an appointment to come and see what we do here. So, and from a law enforcement perspective, we try to target every angle of these operations. We go after their money, we go after their property, we go after all of the financing that allows them to do this, and we do it with specificity here in great resources in San Diego.
Well, we can't thank you enough, David, for coming in and sharing this really critical data. It won't be the last time we'll have you on. Some other topics I'm sure we'll chat about as well. For our listeners, what can we do? Obviously, to be an advocate for what you do and the folks that are in your orbit, I imagine.
You know, it's always great when we have support from our local leaders in Congress. The federal agency obviously fund this, so it's U.S. Congress, and we have broad bipartisan support.
As we should.
We talk about the HAIDTA program as being one area where Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, decline to state, all support the program because they realize that it's good for their geographic regions. They're bringing money back so they can address the threats as they see fit.
David King, Executive Director of the San Diego Imperial Valley High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, better known as HAIDTA. Thank you so much for sharing such great content. Will you come back and share even more? We have a lot more questions to ask you.
Oh, I'd love to. I want just the last word to thank all the men and women who are out there on the street, federal, state, local, tribal, all of our intel analysts, our prosecutors. They're the ones that do the job. They put their lives on the line every day. And proud to be working alongside of them.
No, it's very well said. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. As always, Kristen Fogel, thank you for joining me, and to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.